Baalbek, if there was one example, one ancient site on Earth that is evidence of a lost, ancient, advanced civilization, and Baalbek has the largest stones that were ever quarried in human history, the largest stones that were lifted, stacked, and transported in human history, and the largest stone columns in all of classical history.
For 2,000 years, everyone has been looking at the wrong thing at Baalbek. The Roman columns get the photographs, the temples get the guidebook pages, the empire gets the credit. But what if the real engineering miracle is not what the Romans built, but what they built on top of? Beneath those famous megaliths sits a foundation so ingeniously constructed that modern engineers cannot explain it. Stones weighing 1,650 tons, cut with millimeter precision, fitted so perfectly that not even paper can slide between them. And the Romans? They never mentioned it, not once, no records, no inscriptions, nothing. That silence is not an accident. It is the first clue that exposes Baalbek's greatest mystery. A foundation so advanced, it may predate everything above it. Welcome to Baalbek. And nothing here is what it seems. In Lebanon's Bekaa Valley sits a Roman temple complex that attracts visitors from around the world. They come to admire the 6 remaining columns of the Temple of Jupiter, snap their photos, read about Roman engineering prowess, and leave believing they have witnessed another impressive ruin from the glory days of the empire. But here is the thing. They are looking at the wrong thing entirely. Beneath those Roman columns, underneath the temples that dominate every guidebook, there is a foundation that defies everything we think we know about ancient construction. We are talking about stone blocks weighing up to 1,650 tons. That is heavier than 3 fully loaded 747 jumbo jets stacked together. And these are not rough boulders hauled into place. They are precision-cut rectangular megaliths, fitted so perfectly that a sheet of paper cannot slide between them. The Romans built incredible things: the Colosseum, the Pantheon, aqueducts that still carry water today. But the foundation at Baalbek, that is something else entirely. And the more closely engineers examine it, the more one disturbing question keeps surfacing. Did the Romans actually build this foundation, or did they simply build on top of something they found? The answer is worse than you think. Baalbek sits about 85 kilometers northeast of Beirut, in a valley inhabited for millennia. The Romans called it Heliopolis, the city of the sun, and transformed it into one of their most ambitious religious complexes. The Temple of Jupiter once featured 54 columns, each standing 22 meters tall. Today only 6 remain, but they rank among the tallest columns surviving from the Roman world. Classic Roman architecture everywhere you look. Corinthian capitals, detailed friezes, massive courtyards designed to inspire awe. For centuries, scholars attributed the entire site to Roman engineering. Construction began under Emperor Augustus around 15 BC. The historical record seemed clear. Roman achievement, case closed. But wait. The foundation supporting these temples uses a completely different construction technique than anything above it. While the Roman structures use these standard-sized blocks that Roman engineering could handle, the foundation layer uses stones so massive they dwarf anything the Romans moved anywhere else in their vast empire. So here is the deal with the trilithon, 3 enormous stone blocks forming part of the western retaining wall beneath the Temple of Jupiter. Each block measures approximately 19 meters long, 4.2 meters high, and 3.6 meters deep. The weight? Around 800 tons each. Some estimates push closer to 1,000 tons.
So the trilithon stones, 3 stones, 900 tons apiece, or 800 metric tons, and they were moved a half a mile from the quarry. They were lifted and stacked approximately 30 feet off the ground.
Think about that for a second. The largest stones in the Great Pyramid of Egypt weigh about 80 tons. The trilithon blocks are 10 times heavier. The famous stones at Stonehenge weigh roughly 25 tons. The trilithon makes them look like toys. But the size is not what terrifies engineers. It is the precision. In 2014, a team of archaeologists pointed ground-penetrating radar at the famous stone of the pregnant woman, a 1,000-ton megalith abandoned in an ancient quarry 800 meters from the temple site. They expected to map the bedrock beneath it. Instead, the screen showed something that made the room go silent.
Okay, we're now approaching the main quarry at Baalbek. And this is the one called the stone of the pregnant woman.
Beneath that massive stone sat another one, even larger. The readings came back at 1,650 tons. Someone checked the equipment. Someone else laughed nervously. That can't be right. But it was right. They found a third massive block nearby as well. These were not random rocks. They were deliberately cut megalithic blocks that someone intended to move nearly a kilometer and lift into position. Someone quarried these stones. Someone shaped them with extraordinary precision. Someone abandoned them. What scared them away? Here is where things get uncomfortable. The largest crane operating today, the Typhoon crane in China, can lift about 20,000 tons, but it is a massive fixed installation. Mobile cranes max out around 1,200 tons under optimal conditions on flat, prepared ground. The ancient builders at Baalbek had no steel cables, no hydraulic systems, no wheels. The terrain made them useless anyway. No documented pulleys of sufficient scale, Bronze Age or early Iron Age tools at best. And they did not merely move these stones, they positioned them 7 meters above ground level, fitted them together with millimeter precision, and created a foundation that has survived multiple major earthquakes for over 2,000 years. Dr. Gerhard Kepler, a German engineer who spent years analyzing the site, examined the tool marks on these megaliths. What he found made him check his data 3 times before calling a colleague. The blocks show evidence of having been cut with saws or wire systems capable of handling tremendous pressure while maintaining straight lines across meters of solid limestone. The cuts are too clean, too consistent. The problem? No evidence exists of the Romans, or anyone else in the ancient world, possessing such technology.
You don't see the Roman foot in those stones, which is weird. You would expect to see some sort of breakdown of the Roman foot in these measurements, but they're not there at Baalbek.
And get this, when Romans cut stone, they left characteristic patterns from their chisels and picks. The Baalbek foundation stones show completely different marks. Smooth faces suggesting abrasive cutting, or techniques we simply do not recognize. Then there is the transportation problem. The quarry sits 800 meters southwest of the temple platform across uneven terrain. How do you move an 800-ton block without modern equipment? Some researchers suggested log rollers. Engineers ran the calculations. An 800-ton stone would require rollers made from the hardest available wood, likely cedar of Lebanon, each at least 1 meter in diameter. You would need continuous replacement as rollers cracked under the load. You would need to constantly relay them from back to front. Even if theoretically possible, you would need between 10,000 and 40,000 laborers pulling in perfect coordination with communication systems we have no evidence for. One engineer studying the calculations called the math impossible. Then he paused, because it is sitting right there. Someone lifted these stones 7 meters into the air. Someone positioned them with millimeter accuracy. The joints between the megaliths are so tight you cannot insert a piece of paper between them. No mortar, no filler, just stone against stone with near-perfect contact. The Romans were masters of engineering, but their documented achievements include nothing remotely approaching this scale. The largest stones they moved elsewhere, columns for Trajan's column, obelisks transported from Egypt, weighed at most 300 tons. Those projects are well documented as extraordinary undertakings that pushed Roman engineering to its absolute limits. The Baalbek foundation blocks are nearly 3 times heavier. The Romans moved nothing this heavy anywhere else. So, why here? And why is there no record of it? This is where it gets disturbing. The Romans were obsessed with documenting their achievements. They carved inscriptions everywhere. They wrote detailed histories. They made absolutely certain everyone knew who built what and when. We know the Colosseum was commissioned by Vespasian and completed by Titus in 80 AD. We know the Pantheon was rebuilt by Hadrian around 126 AD. Roman engineering pride was legendary. So, where are the records for the Baalbek Foundation? No records, no inscriptions, nothing. There are Roman inscriptions at Baalbek, but they reference only the temples above, never the foundation platform. No emperor takes credit for moving the trilithon. No engineer's name appears anywhere. No contemporary historian mentions placing stones weighing 1,000 tons. Pliny the Elder wrote extensively about Roman engineering marvels. Vitruvius documented construction techniques in minute detail. neither mentions Baalbek's megaliths. This silence should terrify you, because Romans bragged about everything. What we do find are later Roman additions to the site. Smaller stones, conventional techniques, typical architectural elements. It looks exactly like the Romans found a pre-existing platform and built their temples on top of it, adding their signature style to upper structures while leaving the massive foundation untouched. Think about that for a second. What if the Romans did not build this foundation at all? What if they inherited it? Archaeological evidence confirms human habitation at Baalbek, dating back at least 9,000 years, 7,000 years before the Romans arrived. The site was sacred long before Jupiter got its temple. Phoenicians called it Baalbek, the city of Baal. Greeks associated it with sun worship and named it Heliopolis. But none of these known cultures, Phoenician, Canaanite, Greek, possessed the technology to move 1,000-ton stones either. So, who did? Modern technology has revealed details earlier archaeologists missed. 3D scanning shows the megalithic stones demonstrate knowledge of load distribution and seismic resistance that seems beyond any ancient culture in the region. The way the stones interlock actually makes the structure more stable during earthquakes, allowing slight movement without collapse. Lebanon sits on a seismically active fault line. Multiple strong earthquakes have struck over millennia. The Roman columns above have toppled repeatedly. Only 6 of the original 54 remain standing. The megalithic foundation has not budged. Not a single massive stone has shifted or cracked. 2,000 years, multiple major earthquakes, nothing moves. Modern engineers have attempted to replicate the construction using period-appropriate technology. The consensus is unanimous. It cannot be done. Not with Bronze Age tools, not with Roman tools. The precision alone would require equipment they did not possess. Ground-penetrating radar has now revealed additional foundation structures beneath the visible stones. The platform goes deeper than anyone thought. There may be more megalithic construction underground, hidden for millennia, that we have not even found yet. You can visit Baalbek yourself. You can touch these stones with your own hands. You can measure them. You can see where they were quarried. You can stand beneath the trilithon and feel genuinely small, not from spiritual awe, but from the basic physics of what you are witnessing. Modern engineers with all our technology would struggle to replicate this feat. We could do it, barely, using our most powerful mobile cranes and precise surveying equipment. But it would require months of planning and millions of dollars in resources. Someone achieved it thousands of years ago with tools that should not have been capable of the task. The Romans never attempted anything approaching this scale anywhere else in their empire. If they could move 1,000-ton blocks, why not showcase that ability in Rome itself? Why not build every major temple on megalithic foundations? Why stay silent about the greatest engineering achievement in human history? Unless it was not their achievement at all. The greatest mystery at Baalbek is not how they moved the stones. It is how they convinced everyone to admire the Roman columns above while ignoring the ingenious foundation beneath. A foundation that represents engineering capabilities we still cannot fully explain. A foundation with no author, no historical record, no explanation that satisfies modern science. So here's the question nobody wants to answer. If the Romans did not build this foundation, who did? What civilization possessed this knowledge? And why did they vanish before finishing those massive stones abandoned in the quarry? Let me know what you think in the comments below. If this mystery deserves more investigation, smash that like button and subscribe, because we are just getting started.